Operation Bring Harry Home, or In from the Cold, is apparently underway. According to the Daily Mail, Prince Harry is seeking advice from former aides on how to return to the UK after spending the past 4 years in self-imposed exile in California. Now, he allegedly is growing dissatisfied with advice from American-based image experts, although it seems they've become dissatisfied with a lot of them. I think they're still looking for another head of communications now. But joining me to discuss, former BBC royal correspondent Michael Cole. Michael, Operation Bring Harry In from the Cold.
Good afternoon, Nana. Yes, so it seems the Golden State, California, isn't quite so gilded as maybe he thought it was. It's the same weather every day, mudslides and, of course, forest fires at certain seasons. But let's be clear about this. This isn't Prince Harry seeking to end his self-imposed 4-year exile to Montecito. What he's doing, according to pals back in Britain, is he wants to improve his image on this side of the Atlantic so that he can come here more often and more easily. And apparently he even has thoughts of performing small, minor perhaps, royal duties. Well, on that last point, I think in the words of Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, in a completely different context, the chances of that are between slim and none. But that apparently seems to be his purpose, and he has got friends over here. Maybe he renewed his acquaintance when he was here on Wednesday. If you remember, he went to the memorial service to his uncle, Lord Robert Fellows, in North Norfolk. So I'm sure coming back here in midsummer, when the English countryside looks glorious, and when he has many, many friends and knows the area around Sandringham, perhaps that sort of tugged at his heartstrings and he realised what he's lost.
Well, the sceptics amongst us might perhaps suggest that his paperback version of Spare is coming out. He's decided that he's not going to update it in any sort of way, because sometimes they do, don't they, and put other stuff in that wasn't in the hardback. And that's coming out in, 3 weeks or so. Some might say that he's actually doing that talking about this just to make himself more relevant so he can sell more books.
Yeah, I think the contract obviously included a paperback edition, but he hasn't added new chapters, and he hasn't written a preface or an afterword to increase and renew the anguish which he's caused his family by these revelations and very cruel and unkind remarks. And he won't be promoting it. So I think that is a bit of a peace feeler. It's a bit of a token. Maybe it's his way of saying, look, I'm very sorry, or I'm slightly sorry, or I would like to be forgiven a little bit for what I've done. I don't know, because what Montecito is probably beyond all of us. But it would be only natural, because his whole life was here. He was extremely popular. He gave great service to the armed forces, 2 army tours in Afghanistan. And he was tremendously popular, and he could have been such a great asset, along with his wife, in the 54 countries of the Commonwealth. They could have done great work, and it's the greatest pity that they left in a hurry, as they did, first for Canada and then for California, which may have been her destination all along. But, you know, if you live in California, it's wonderful in a way, but after a while, it does get a little bit boring. It's the same people. It's, you know, LA is a great big freeway. I mean, that's what it says in the song. And it's certainly true. Obviously, he lives in great luxury at Montecito, but is that enough? I mean, he hasn't had what most of us would recognize as a full-time job since he left the army.
You think maybe he's just getting bored, and perhaps in his head he's just beginning to realise that life is not just about bits and pieces and money, it's about the people, the relationships that you have, and those are the things that are the real value. I suspect part of this is because Meghan Markle did not realise that I think in her mind, and obviously I've never met the woman, but this is just what I can see of her, that she was taken in by the glitzy Hollywood golden signs and all those things, whereas he's had all that. He doesn't need that. And in fact, that's been with him all his life, effortlessly. So now she's finally, maybe they've come to the same place now, and she's acknowledged that actually all that glitters isn't gold.
Look, if you're a member of the royal family, you just are. You just are. You don't have to do anything else.
Exactly.
If you're a semi-detached member of the royal family, you have to be. And you have to be doing busy things. You have to be going to Nigeria and Colombia, and you have to be making speeches and going to New York at the same time as maybe your brother is there. You have to justify your existence. You know, what have they've got to sell? Their selling point is celebrity, and how you sell that is very important. You know, the thing about America is that this country, Britain, is the home of nostalgia. That's why the old Hollywood stars come here and appear in Panto and all that sort of stuff. Over there in America, they want what's new, what's novelty. The first question you get is, what are you doing now? Now, the Americans have heard what they've had to say. They've seen it all. They've listened, and they gave them a warm welcome. But after a while, it's a little bit deja vu. You know, what's next?
More whinging. It was just the same old record, complaining about his family and this and that. I think we've all heard enough. I mean, I think that's the shot of, I think it's Marie Tillman, the wife of Pat Tillman. He, of course, collected the Pat Tillman Award. That wasn't in great taste because there was a petition with over 70,000 names on it that said that he shouldn't pick it up. So do you think actually what's happened is, as you said, they're sort of really kind of losing favour in the States as well? Because what's happened to Meghan's American Riviera Orchard as well? I mean, what's going on with that?
Yeah, well, somebody said today, you know, that she's made a few jars of jam and something else, dog biscuits, was it? I can't remember. But, you know, that's not going to stack the shelves, is it? I think I'm not an expert on body language and so on, but if you look at him, even in Colombia, when he was with her and everything, he looked a little bit of fish out of water. He didn't look terribly happy. He wasn't the happy prince we remembered. You know, he was all full of life, joking with Usain Bolt on the running field, always full of jokes, always happy, and very, very close to his brother and sister-in-law. They could have been closer. So it's a great sadness, you know. It's a great, great sadness. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they'll inherit the earth. That what they need is a peacemaker there, but it's going to take a lot of humble pie on his part and a lot of fence mending.
Well, let's see if he's prepared to apologise. I'm not so sure, but remember how we felt about Camilla Parker Bowles, and her behaviour's been exemplary, and so we all love her now. So, Michael Cole, thank you very much for talking to me. That's the brilliant Michael Cole. It's time now for the Great British Debate this hour. I'm asking, would you welcome Prince Harry back? Operation Bring Harry In from the Cold is apparently underway. I mean, why did he bother going out in the cold in the first place? I hate the cold. According to the Daily Mail, Prince Harry is seeking advice from former aides on how to return to the UK after spending the past 4 years in self-imposed exile in California. I mean, he's allegedly growing dissatisfied with the advice from American-based image experts. They've sacked pretty much every communication advisor. I think they're on to number 10 now, and not Downing Street. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, would you welcome Prince Harry back? Well, joining me now, broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly, also GB News' political commentator Nigel Nelson. Danny Kelly, I'll start with you. You've been away for a while.
Great to see a bit of backache and some gastroenteritis, but I'm fighting fit and I am completely bug-free.
Was it something you ate?
Well, it's interesting. It's always difficult to try and get to the source of what gives you stomach flu, and your mind boggles. But it's great to be back.
But you've lost a few pounds on that.
I have, yeah. That was the great thing. That was the great thing about projectile vomiting for 5 days. OK.
I'm glad you're over there.
Get out of here.
I think Harry's going to struggle to be welcomed back. I really do. Now, I've got nothing against the lad, and I know that he divides opinion and he's polarising. I've got nothing against the lad. But when you air your dirty laundry in public and write a book, basically slagging off your brother, who's going to be the future king. I think his brother doesn't get on with him. A lot of animus there. The Queen, of course, Queen Camilla. He basically, as I remember, he was trying to get his dad not to marry him. Yeah, all of these horrible names. There's no need for it. So all of a sudden, I think he's burnt his bridges. He's going to struggle to be welcomed back. There will be a hardcore of people who just love Prince Harry, and they'll welcome him back. But generally speaking, I think he's going to be an unpopular figure.
Nigel Nelson.
I'd like to see him back. I was very sorry that he decided to give up royal duties. I don't think it was necessary, but obviously that was a matter for him and Meghan. He's now about to reach 40. He's always having a bit of a midlife crisis and working out what to do with the rest of his life. I think coming back would actually be great. He's got a lot of bridges to rebuild if he does so. I mean, the first with his father, which will probably be easier than with William. But should those bridges be able to be built and he was able to return to some kind of royal duties, I think that we should welcome that. I know what has happened in the past, but at least he's not exacerbated it by giving too many interviews recently slagging off the royal family.
Oh, I think there's nothing else to say, is there? But his paperback version of his book is coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and apparently he's not changing it, so he's not updating it.
Stop that.
Well, I don't know. He would have done a contract anyway, so there's no way he could actually get out of the paperback book. But what I gather there is the book itself is not being updated. So in other words, there's no fresh insults in there. So it's the same book as the hardback, which would be fine.
I think that the public have learnt a lot about them as personalities and their characters. And interestingly, Nana, you just reminded us that they're onto their 10th personal advisor. Only 2 or 3 hours ago, I think GB News broke the story, or some of the Sundays broke the story, that the 10th has now left. So they've had enough of them. Now, why do 10 people... No, seriously, there's something about the personalities that you can't hide. You can't mask your true personality, whether it's a combination of Meghan and Harry, or whether it's Meghan individually or Harry individually. But if people are reluctant to work for them, that gives you an insight into what they're like and their personalities. And I think the British public have forget the book for a second, I think the British public have thought, do you know, I don't think you're that nice people. Well, I just think that you're a bit unpleasant.
Well, remember so you remember the Oprah interview, how could we possibly forget, where they said that somebody in the royal family had talked about the colour of their unborn child's skin. Now, in where I'm from, we ask that all the time, and my son is called Ivory, and I made the joke, what if he comes out really dark? Because ivory is obviously a light colour. Yep. So, so we were having a laugh about that. That's not evil, that's not wicked.
No.
Now, I suspect that there's sort of been a misunderstanding and misinterpretation of what racism is, because it almost feels like neither of them fully understood or had been victims of it.
I think it was deliberately manipulated to make it look racist. You know, all of my black and brown friends, if they have a white husband or a white wife and they have children, it's the first question. They're just interested.
Well,
and it's human interest. It doesn't mean that there's anything nefarious about what's driving the question.
Even if you had ginger hair, and maybe you did, I don't know. Which Harry does have. You'd wonder, will they come out with a lot of the
That's
ginger
right.
colouring? Yeah, this is not racist. But then later, after allowing us all to be gaslit with this, then later in the interview with Tom Bradby, Harry went, what,
he denied
racist?
it, yeah.
No, he said, nobody in my family is racist. I mean, what was that?
Well, I don't know what that was. I mean, I saw the opera interview, heard what they said. Interestingly, what the Queen is meant to have said after that is that her recollection of the conversation that he was talking about is not her recollection.
Yeah, recollection.
So it may well be more like the kind of conversation that you've just had with Danny there, by saying you might start be interested in how a baby is going to look if you've got a mixed marriage. So I can see that.
But the important thing here is that she let it get developed by Oprah Winfrey into a race car.
That's right, it did.
And that's the big thing. She should at that point have said, no, Oprah, it was nothing to do with race. It was just purely interest, that's all. But Oprah, like, her jaw hit the floor and she goes, you what? He said, what? And of course, all of a sudden, it was a story about...
zoom in on that. What?
But Oprah...
All of a sudden, it was a story about race.
But she wanted a great interview, so Oprah obviously sort of wound it up. Because...
Yeah, but Meghan didn't stop her.
No, I know, I appreciate that.
She allowed it to evolve, didn't she? She went, well, that is a fair assumption to make, when Oprah said, so would that be, based on the colour of his skin? And she went, that is a fair assumption to make.
Yeah.
So, she did not back down on...
No, I agree. I mean, they were leading questions, but then that's what an interview should do.
And they had the nerve to blame it on the British press.
Yeah.
which was, disingenuous and disgraceful. So would you welcome Harry back, Danny?
Well, I'm not a fan. It doesn't mean I don't like the lad. I wish him all the best. I don't wish him any harm at all if they want to come back. I think Meghan's going to be a big problem. I think the British public perception's different from actual reality. But I would say overwhelmingly the British public don't like her, and I think that's
Well, they may not know, but they used to. I mean, when it first started, in fact, the British public absolutely welcomed Meghan into the royal family.
Amazing.
Yeah, and what it seems to be is that Harry and Meghan couldn't stand the press. Now, they've got to live with it. That's one of the things the royal family does. Part of their job is to appear in front of the press and be scrutinised.
Well, the press, to be fair, didn't. Some of them didn't really approach it very well, but there were others who did, and you always have that. So I've had things where something I've said has been literally taken out of context to make me look like some evil witch. Me? I'm lovely. Oh, with claws. But still, that's what that happens, and I do agree that there is an argument that shouldn't be allowed. But that's life, and if you have such privilege, you have to acknowledge to take the good with the bad, and they weren't prepared to do that.